All right, we are live. We're gonna be doing a live review of the Dragon Quest movie, Dragon Quest: Your Story. I'm here with my bud. Which way? This way? Yeah, Fates underscore Rage. So yeah, we watched it. It came out last night, and I watched it. Watched it with my wife. She's never played a Dragon Quest movie. Played a Dragon Quest game before. So it was nice seeing her take. But what did you think about the movie, basically, Fates?
Well, I really liked it for the first part.
Yeah.
For the most part, I really, really liked it.
I liked it too. But there was some things like obviously I didn't like. But let's get into get into what would you say like were your favorite parts of the movie?
My favorite parts, in no particular order, was definitely the Erdrick sword.
Yeah, right?
I love how they kind of just like brought it in. They didn't make like a big deal about
Out
it.
of nowhere.
Just
Yeah,
brought
they
it
didn't
in.
even mention it,
Like
right?
suddenly it's there. It's kind of like they just had that in there just for us, kind of thing. That was awesome. I really
Yeah.
liked that. It was awesome.
There were a lot of the parts of the movie that like were literally there just for the fans. Like there was a lot of that. Like pretty much the movie felt like it was just for the fans at times.
Definitely.
What other things were like really stood out as like good, like really fucking good parts to you?
For some reason, I like parts where the allies have to band together, and then you get like reinforcements like last minute. So this movie had it when they had what's his name? The big monster dude. I suddenly forgot his name.
Bjorn?
Bjorn, yeah, Bjorn. When they had him bring
Yeah.
in the princes of men, and then they all go fight each other.
Oh yeah, at the end? Yeah. Like there was like that huge battle, right? Yeah, and then they were kind of like they were outnumbered obviously, right? And it was kind of like tied, but then they were kind of starting to lose, right? The enemy was like closing in on them. And then all of a sudden this fucking boat comes out, like this huge fucking ship, right? Comes out of nowhere. And it's like, what the fuck? How's the ship up here? And then you see Bjorn just like carrying it on his shoulders.
Yeah,
and the prince and stuff.
that was awesome. I was really expecting him to show up because earlier on, like because
He's like, yeah, if you need anything.
is supposed to be, I think, what's sealed. He's sealed again in the main story, but in this one,
Right, he turns into like a hill, doesn't he? In the
I
game.
think so. I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
It's been a little while. Only been a little while, but my memory's crap. But Vector
Yeah.
asks, were the fan moments at the expense of the lore?
See, that's tough with this movie because they changed a lot of things in the movie. Well, not a lot, but they definitely changed some things in the movie from like if you guys don't know, Dragon Quest: Your Story is based off Dragon Quest V. They changed like some like points in Dragon Quest V to make the movie unique.
It's not a
And
carbon copy.
no, it's not a carbon copy at all. It's almost like a love letter to Dragon Quest V, more so than a carbon copy. And like a love letter to the fans. Like it was the fan moments, the expense of the lore, kind of, but the movie almost expects you to have seen Dragon Quest V, and if not, if I hadn't seen Dragon Quest V after watching this movie, I would want to immediately play Dragon Quest V.
To me, it seemed like they had it structured so that knowing that you are a fan of Dragon Quest V, but changing things in ways where you know that it's not going to follow the exact same timeline. Definitely by the time the final fight came in by, I was wondering what's going to happen next, because I know it's not going to be
Yeah, because
exactly what it was.
it was changing things. So for me, for like some of my favorite parts, my webcam's like going crazy for some reason, but for me, my favorite parts, so for me, like I always pick Nera or Nira. Like, that's always my wife every time I play through the game. And for those of you that don't know, in Dragon Quest V, the subtitle is called the Hand of the Heavenly Bride, and the whole point is, like, in the original on the Super Famicom or Super Nintendo, you get to choose between Nira or Bianca. Bianca's kind of like your childhood friend, and Nira is like just this like super nice girl, and just a great girl, and I always pick Nira. I always have, and pretty much always will. And in the movie, reaches that point, and he's gonna ask Nira to marry him, and Bianca's there, and she's like, you know what, like, I fully support you, but you need to ask her to marry you, because if he kills Bjorn, just like in the game, right? Like, if he beat Bjorn, then what's his dick? Like, her dad was like, yeah, you can have the hand of my daughter, right? I think is how that went.
No, it was different.
And oh, was it different? Oh, I thought if you beat Bjorn, then he would.
No, Bjorn comes in after. He comes in after the marriage.
Oh, okay.
During that whole, because in the game you have to go and collect those 3 stones, and then
right.
Or is it 3? It might just be 2 for like the rings, and then at that point he kind of like hints to that tower where Bjorn is sitting, and then a little bit later on is when Bjorn breaks out, and that's when you gotta fight.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Your kids are up and running at that when you're fighting.
Oh, you have kids by the time Bjorn shows up? Fuck, it wasn't even that long ago that I replayed 5. It all kind of like, there's so much that happens that it kind of runs together. But anyways, you have to choose. Basically, you have to choose, like, which one you're going to marry. I always go with Nera. And in the movie, he was, like, going to go with Nera, because in the movie, if he beat Bjorn, Briscoletti, who's Nera's dad, said, you can marry my daughter. And so he's automatically, like, guaranteed to be able to marry her daughter, or his daughter. And then Bianca's like, well, you gotta at least ask her to marry you, even though, like, you're guaranteed to marry her. And so he's, like, trying to build up the courage, blah, blah, blah. And then he does, and then he's staying at, like, the inn, and Bianca's in. He gets to the inn, and it's, like, an inn on top of a bar, and Bianca's just, like, shit-faced, because clearly she's got feelings for him and all that stuff. And then, anyways, he goes to sleep, or he gets, like, this potion from this old lady that tells him, like, this will tell you your true desires. And he goes to sleep, and then basically, in his dream, he sees, like, some weird video game shit, and then he's like, no, I'm gonna go with Bianca. And at first, when watching the movie, I was like, fuck, because, like, I like Nera way better than Bianca, right? But then I was like, you know what? I actually kind of like this, because that's how I, like, every time I replay Dragon Quest V, I'm like, I'm going to choose a different bride this time, and then I always choose the same one. So it's like, it was kind of almost like a throwback to that. Like, I wonder if a lot of fans do that, and they knew that, so they threw that in the movie.
My experience was a little bit different, because I played the DS version, was my first time I ever played.
Right.
And I picked Deborah first. And Deborah, I have a sweet spot for Deborah. I just love Deborah. I played the game 3 times on the DS. My first time was I picked Deborah. Second time I picked Bianca, and the third time I was gonna pick the last bride, but I didn't, and I picked Deborah again.
Did you go back to Deborah? Yeah, see, you always go back to your first. Hey, like it's always you always want to do that, but then you always go back to, like, your tried and true, which I think they knew people did that, and I think that's why they put that in the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Another thing I liked was the ending. Like, a lot of people were shitting on the ending. Like when it came out in Japan, people kind of, like, ruined the movie for me a little bit, and just they didn't go into detail about the ending, but they told me that it was VR. By the way, massive fucking spoilers if you haven't seen the movie. And in the movie, it doesn't tell you till, like, almost right at the end. Like he beats Lagia, and then they throw the Zenithian sword up into the sky, or the kid does, or something, or the kid goes up there. I can't remember. And then all of a sudden, like, this glitch shit comes out of the sky, and this fucking, like, weird fucking thing comes out. And it's it's claims like he's like, you can call me Nimzo, but it's not Nimzo, right? And that was so cool. What's that?
Kind of looks like an alien.
Yeah, it looks like a fucking alien, with like a white mask on or something. But that part, like at first I was like, this is it. This is the bad part. And then kind of the virus explains to him, I'm a virus. This is just a game. Blah blah blah. And then the hero, he's like, what? What do you mean? And then he starts remembering. Like, you walk into, like, this big futuristic VR thing, and they're like, we're going to erase your memories so you can live out your life as the hero, and it'll feel like real time has passed and stuff like that. And I thought that was cool, but then when kind of like the final fight, the Nimzo, who isn't really Nimzo, is like, it's just a game, none of this is real, why do you care? And then it kind of has, like, a flashback of the hero, or the character playing the hero, growing up playing Dragon Quest V, like when it first came out, replaying it again as like a teenager, replaying it again as a young adult, replaying it again as an adult, and that, like, that hit me in the feels so hard, because like he's like, to me this is real, like all these worlds are fucking, they exist to me, man. It was so good, so good. I love that part, and that's the part that like everybody was hating on when it first came out, but I loved it.
Yeah, me too. I definitely loved that part. I probably got the same exact feelings because I remember playing Dragon Warrior 4 as a kid. I remember playing Dragon Warrior 4 as a teenager, playing Dragon Quest 4 when it came out in the DS, and just it was.
Yeah, 4 was a big one for me too. Like 1 and 4, I've played those games probably more than any game, like, ever, probably. And it's just like all of us growing up playing RPGs, like it basically is like a big shout out to all of us. So I guess the next question is, was there anything what did you hate, or what are your least favorite parts? I guess
I was just gonna say, I don't like to use the word hate. I like to reserve that for the ex-wife. Just kidding. But I will use the word dislike. I guess to say the thing that I disliked the most was that they made the hero's mom Zenithian, because she's not Zenithian, right?
I don't remember. I thought she was.
No, it was supposed to be the wives' family that's Zenithian, and then.
Is that what it was? And that's why
heroes, he has special blood. He doesn't have the hero blood, but he does have like that monster master blood that his mom is supposed to be like.
Oh, okay.
A master of. Like
okay.
She was because when you go to the hometown there, they go by. They she was able to talk to monsters and so forth and everything like that.
Right. I'm mixing up 4 and 5. Yeah. That's what it is. Because 4's mom was Zenithian, right?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. That's what. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Go on.
So yeah, that was the part that I didn't like, but it kind of makes sense. They can't get like too heavy into it, because overall it is a movie. They can't bring in all these different aspects for it. So I guess it was okay, but it bugged me.
Yeah. For me, kind of what you were touching on there a bit, was how they can't fit. Obviously, they can't fit like a 50-hour game into a fucking just under 2-hour movie, right? Yeah. So for me, the intro was something they definitely could have fixed. Like, even if they would have just had somebody narrating like what happened because the game starts like almost right before Pancras dies. And like you have like almost no attachment to Pancras when he dies, I found in the movie. And I thought that was like that could have been such a strong point in the movie that they just kind of like flushed down the toilet by not developing Pancras at all. Same with the Saber Cub, like when they rescue when they get like Percy and stuff. Like my wife, she didn't know. Like later on in the movie when he finds Percy in that cave and he's like scared of him, my wife was like, why is there like a saber-tooth tiger following him now. Like because it all it showed was like 16-bit like little screenshots basically at the beginning with like a little bit of text to try and put in some backstory. And I thought that could have been done way better. Even just with a little bit of narration or something would have fixed a lot of that. Yeah. And same with Bianca, because you see Bianca for like 5 seconds in the intro like 16-bit part, and my wife was like, I don't get it, who's that? And I was like, that's Bianca, but I'll explain it. Like,
yeah, as much as I loved the 16-bit and like the old school, it didn't really help that much for telling the story, because no, if you didn't play the game, you're not gonna have any idea what that is.
Yeah, I think what they should have done, because people everywhere are saying that they appreciated the 16-bit thing, but I think what they should have done was they should have left that for the credits, because they had scenes during the credits anyways. But during the credits, they just showed parts of the movie. But I think what they could have done there was they could have put the 16-bit parts of the movie, but the 16-bit version of all the events instead of that. And they could have done just a short little intro movie to explain like that stuff instead. That would have made it a lot better.
So the ending kind of like Dragon Quest 11?
Yeah, exactly. That was the best fucking ending ever. In the best game ever. Was there anything you hated, though? Was there anything you hated?
I thought I was gonna dislike the art style, like the whole CG, but I ended up liking it.
Yeah, I liked it too. Nera looked great in it, by the way. She was a cutie, hey?
She was, yeah. And Sancho.
I knew, okay, even when I was watching it, I was like, fuck, there's so much Sancho in this movie, Fates is gonna love it. Because in the game, like, you can take him in your party, but nobody really does. And he's just there, like, a couple times, like, that he has to show up plot-wise.
Yeah, help the kids and whatnot.
Yeah. And then I know when we were talking earlier, you were saying, like, one part that kind of bothered you, and it bothered me too at first, was that when they had kids, like, they had twins in the game, right? Like, it was a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
And in the movie, it was just a boy. It was just one kid. But I think, like, as much as you were upset that they didn't have the girl and the boy, I think that would have cut away from Sancho's screen time.
Probably.
Because in the original, I think the boy and the girl kind of journey, like, on their own to find like their dad and stuff. But in the movie, the kid comes like beating dudes up, and Sancho comes like running behind him in his armor and stuff. So Sancho is kind of like there with him, helping him do it.
Sancho helps them out in the game.
Does he?
He's the one who leads them. Well, almost like the movie where they find the wand, and then they go and save the dad. And then
okay.
And then I can't remember what happens to them. How you get the mom back? Oh,
their mom wasn't in the like Lagia's castle though, was she?
No,
I don't remember that.
She was in that place of worship.
The first place,
yeah,
right?
The very first place when you're stuck as a slave, and as slaves you're supposed to be building up this place of worship. So she's in there after it's complete. Yeah,
as far as hated, I don't think I hated anything. Just like I said, that intro definitely could have been done a lot better.
Yeah.
What surprised you? What surprised you about the movie?
There's a few things that surprised me. One of them was how goofy the hero was. Like they
made him a little derpy, hey? Like
there's a lot of running away scenes. A lot.
I think they really wanted to hit home that he wasn't the hero. I think maybe that's what they were going for. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, he definitely has his points of like bravery where he really like he defeats something and then he's like fuck yeah, but then he's like kind of embarrassed because people are like, dude, you fucking did that, and he's like yeah, but I'm not really that good. Like,
but in the game,
but I think
in the games he was good.
Yeah. Yeah, he was pretty badass in the games. They kind of made him like a little goofy. I didn't even like really think of that until just now, like when you brought that up. The thing that surprised me and like very pleasantly surprised me though was the little changes. And like they're so subtle. But they all when you get that scene where he gets his memories back and he's like logging into the virtual reality thing. Like for example, in the game, when he goes to get help from the fairies and stuff, you have to go through like this mazy, bullshitty, like foggy, puzzly stuff in order to get to the fairies. And so instead of doing that in the movie, all of a sudden there was like all these fucking robots, like all those hunter mechs. And I was like, dude, I was like, I like this. This is cool, but what the fuck? Those weren't in the game. And then when he and there's like little changes like that. And then when at the end when he's going over how he got into the VR machine, the guy running the VR machine is like, are there any like requests? He's like, I want to fight a lot of robots. And then I just started laughing. I was like, fuck, that's why the robots were there. Because he's like, I want to fight robots.
Yeah, and just another thing that lets you know it's different or there's something up kind of thing.
Yeah. All those little things like kind of hint towards this is what could be going on. But you don't know till the fucking very end. Like, did you have any idea? Like, I knew because I got it spoiled. But did you know?
No, I had no idea. I guess in retrospect, if I was a little bit more wary and I took the title of the movie and then combined it with all those, maybe I would have been able to piece it together before. But no, I was expecting like, I was kind of like just expecting like a bad adaptation. Some guy not. Like just taking a look at like screenshots of the game and then doing like that.
Oh, really? So you were really impressed then,
Yeah.
Because if you thought that it was just going to be that, were you disappointed when you found out that was the ending? Like at first,
No.
When all of a sudden this guy comes down, you're like, that's not Nimzo.
No,
or what was your reaction?
I still liked it. I was totally fine with that, with that ending because it's. Just because of all the little things, like it's Dragon Quest V, but it wasn't quite Dragon Quest V, so it was its own story.
When like fake Nimzo showed up, were you like, oh shit, like or like what was your reaction to that?
I was desperately trying to remember how Nimzo looked in all his different forms. You're
like, wait a minute. Wait a minute, that's not Nimzo. Who the fuck's this guy? Yeah, I thought that was super fucking cool. Yeah, I guess for kind of like the last. Oh yeah, one other thing I want to mention is I loved how in Dragon Quest V, the first time you really find out that you're not the hero is when you get the Zenithian sword and you can't use it, and you're like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. And that's when you kind of like realize, oh my god, I'm not playing as the hero, or maybe I have to like unlock potential or something. And I was wondering how they were gonna do that in the movie, because like in a video game, if that character just can't equip that item, they just can't equip that item. But like, how do you show that, right? In like a movie. And then I loved how they did that, because he's got the Zenithian sword, but he's got it in the sheath. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna fuck this guy up, and he's like reefing on it, and he can't pull it out of the sheath. And I thought that I was like wondering how they were gonna do that, and I thought that was like a really good way to do that.
It was pretty good. And then when they do show the sun opening it up, it was a little bit surprising. I actually found it kind of cool how like the sword opens up and like
opens up. Yeah.
Because on the regular NES cover art, that sword is shaped very weird, and it's
it is.
I guess it was just designed that way to look cool. But then in there's kind of like some logic. It kind of like sits inside there, and then it opens up, and then it's kind of like the magic is released, and sort of speak. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Like, yeah, even in like other like Zenithian Saga games, that sword has that same design, right? But But I thought that was cool how it like it did kind of look like a regular sword as soon as he pulled, like when he kind of first pulled it out, and then all of a sudden it starts like opening up and like unfolding and shit. And yeah, that was fucking cool.
I did want to bring up Dr. Aegon.
Yeah.
For me, the movie raises some questions because in the games, he's supposed to be this super powerful dragon, but he never does anything.
Yeah, he like carries you as like a really slow like airship, basically.
Yeah, that was 5, right? That did it. And that's like pretty much all he did. But in this one, he actually does something, and it was kind of cool seeing him go in there and like flying around and taking down all, not really taking them, kind of like just holding them back. But
yeah, he's like separating the enemies.
But then when they get to like the boss, and he gets like taken out, he takes a few hits, in a sense losing HP, and he reverts back to human. Now it was always my understanding that he was a dragon and that he was turning into Dr. Aegon in part 5.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
The other way around, because in this one it suggests that he's a human then, and that he's just a human that turns into a dragon.
I never thought of that because realistically, if he was like lowered in HP and magic, he wouldn't be able to hold his fake human form, exactly, right? Yeah. And that kind of makes me think that the Dragon Lord, same kind of thing, right? Like that's his true form. But growing up, I always considered the Dragon Lord powering up and transforming into that. I never considered it like, oh, he's getting weak, so he can't hold his human form anymore. I always thought of it as shit got real for him, so he was like, all right, motherfuckers, like I'm gonna transform into my dragon form. Another thing about Dr. Aegon was when they go back, because they kind of hear that there's somebody in the town that is the dragon disguised as a human, and my wife's like, who could that be? I was like, I don't know. she's like, is it that guy? I was like, I don't know, what's his name? And then she's like, Dr. Aegon? And I was like, yeah. She's like, yeah. I was like, spell it out. And then she's like, EGG. And I was like, fuck. But it's like DR, like doctor, and then AGON. But like you said last night, like we got to see it spelled out, right? Whereas like it sounds like Aegon, like Dr. Aegon. So one other thing I would have liked to have seen was at least a Deborah cameo. Like, they could have just had her show up in the Briscoletti home, even. Just a little shout-out. Like, I know she wasn't in the original Super Famicom version, and that's kind of what they were going with, was the Super Famicom version. But I would have liked to see, even just, like, her in the background, just, like, coming home and just yelling at her family or something. Just being a cunt in some way. You know what I mean?
Like, don't put, like, the spotlight on her, but, like, you know, just
yeah.
Like, oh, there's this. She's there, kind of. That would have been cool. I would have loved that.
Yeah, same. And I'm not even like a Deborah fan, but it's something that would have been like a nice nod, I think.
You want to know what was weird about the movie?
What's that?
How the swoosh spell is strong.
Yeah, it's like so useless all the time.
And he's like, swoosh.
But I think that,
and then he just fucking shit up with that spell. I don't remember wrecking shit up with that spell.
That's like the worst. Well, it's like a cleric spell, right? It's like an offensive cleric spell, so it's usually not very strong. But I think they wanted to make the hero have have a couple strong points. So, and he wasn't really physically imposing at all. Like, he was a pretty scrawny guy. They made him like super scrawny in the movie for some reason. And so the only way they could do it, I guess, was with magic. Vector's saying, I think if they showed this Deborah person, but not allowed her to interact, it may have offended people who actually picked Deborah as their bride. I don't think so, because Fates picks Deborah as his bride, and he would have liked to seen it. So either she's made important, or she shouldn't be there at all, just an assumption.
It also would have went against their overall goal, I imagine. It would have been, their overall goal was... playing the game as a kid and throughout the story. So if they pick Deborah, if Deborah's in there, then Deborah wasn't in the
She didn't exist when he... Yeah, that's true. She didn't exist. So yeah, I guess for those of you that haven't played Dragon Quest V, Deborah doesn't exist in the original version. They just added her in the DS remake as an extra bride you can choose. She doesn't have like a lot of backstory, but then again, neither did like Nara really. But other than that, I don't know. I really liked the movie. I think that if you haven't seen Dragon Quest V, you might not like the movie as much. Do you think that, or what do you think, Fates?
Probably you definitely have some hard time following what's going on just because of those 16-bit parts at the beginning, not really explaining much. But I don't know. I was gonna show it to my daughter and see what she thought.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think another thing, like, basically from the Bjorn fight and on, though, it's from the Bjorn fight and on, it's pretty much good. Like you kind of have an idea of what's going on from there, but up until that point, there's a lot of stuff that you don't. If you didn't play the game, you wouldn't have a clue what's going on.
Yeah, I think the best way, or the best question to ask is if make you want to play Dragon Quest V again.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, it does. It makes me want to, and it was like it was like only a year ago that I played Dragon Quest V too, and I want to play Dragon Quest V again.
Yeah, I definitely want to play too.
I think another thing is if you're a fan of the Dragon Quest series or any of the Dragon Quest games, like say you've only played 1 or 2 of them and you've never played 5, I think this would make you really want to play 5. To me, 5 is like 4, and 5 are like some of the best starting points for me. Because if you start with 8 or 12 or 8 or 11, you're kind of spoiling yourself, and you could kind of almost only go backwards in terms of like, especially like graphics and stuff like that. Like a lot of people are sticklers for graphics. 3, I can't recommend you to start with 3, just because you have to play at least 1 before 3, because you won't enjoy it as much. I feel
you could play 3 without playing 1.
You've only played 3. Damn, you ruined the twist at the end of 3 by playing 3 first. And I'd say you should play 1 and 2 before 3, but 2 is like, unless you're playing like the newer versions of 2, which Fates has even found like kind of boring because they're so easy. Like, they go from like really fucking hard on the NES, and then the new ones are like stupidly easy.
They're I don't really want to get too much into it, but what I loved about part 2 was going around talking to the people, like, and then finding out what to do, and like you got to figure it out yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, like,
I did like that.
I played the Switch version, and they just give you everything. And it's not hard to go anywhere. Like I was able to go and get to the Prince of Cannock level grinding and not even buying new equipment.
Yeah.
I think I picked up the shield.
That's true.
And that was it. And then I went in there, everything's ass, went back, and I was still perfectly fine.
Yeah, they nerfed it too much. Like, way too much, I would say. Somewhere in between would maybe be nice. My thing with 2 is I like the story, but the gameplay was so unbalanced. Like, especially like Cave Tyrone can suck the biggest of cocks, basically. It was the worst. It was hell. Thinking back, you also played 9. 9 is very similar to 3, like gameplay wise. I really liked 9. I'm hoping they remake it for Switch. But anyways, is there anything you wanted to add before we I guess call her a review?
No, but if you're gonna play 5, play the DS version. Deborah. She might seem like an a-hole, but she is the most caring.
She's the most caring. What the fuck? Even hey, you know what else I liked about the movie? It totally shows like Nira is the one you should choose, because Nira, what she does to make him go for Bianca instead of him, like she realizes that he likes Bianca, and I was like, my wife was like, see, he should go with Bianca, and then when that lady transforms into Nira, and I'm like, see, That's why you always choose Nira, because she's always looking out for you. She's a sweetheart. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming out. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, maybe we'll do more of these for whatever. If a game comes out that we both play, or a movie or something. But thanks a lot for coming out. I'm Dukey03, and this is Fates_Rage. You can follow me here, and you can follow him. Wait till these things finish doing their thing, and you can follow Fates right there. We're usually playing JRPGs right here on Twitch, but we change it up a bit from time to time as well.
Yeah.
All right, see you guys.